Hey, what's up YouTube? Back here with Q&A number 4, and I got some great questions here from some of my subscribers that I want to run through that I think will provide some value to anyone out there that follows my channel or maybe hasn't asked this question or maybe just looking information about some of these topics. So a lot of this is around more training today and some of the McGill books we'll talk about. So let's hit it off with the first question. After deadlift, I got pain in my lumbar facet joints. Am I doing something wrong? What do you think? I work with a professional trainer, deadlift with kettlebell. My MRI shows an L5S1 and L405 facet joint arthritis. I had herniated disc 6 months ago, but pain is gone. I got pain only the left side of my back. Do you have pain like this from facet joint after training? So it's hard to answer because I don't exactly know what's going on. I haven't seen you perform a deadlift. If you have some arthritis already, and if you're not performing the deadlift with good technique, then you could perhaps maybe trigger some issues, or you can get a cranky back. And part of that could be just because you may be hyperextending when you finish with the deadlift. So you're popping up into hyperextension. That's going to place a lot of force onto the facet joints, and then as you add load from the kettlebell, depending on the load, that's going to add more force, and because you already have some arthritis there, that's probably not the best thing to do, and that could create maybe some sort of recipe for disaster if you keep doing that. So my suggestion would be there could be something wrong with the technique, and I don't know that. I don't know who your trainer is. I'm not criticizing your trainer or anything like that, but there could be something wrong with the technique. Maybe it's just you have a lack of a brace. If you brace a little bit stronger, maybe lower the load, maybe correct your technique a little bit, that could perhaps clean up things. Or at the same time, just doing a kettlebell deadlift right now may not be appropriate for you, and it may be best to maybe build some core endurance first and progress to building up to a deadlift. So that would be my thoughts right now, but if it's causing you pain, stop, break it down, see what's going on. Those would be my suggestions. Moving on, second question here. Having an L4L5 herniated disc, if I perform a deadlift with good technique, with low weights, and have slight pain in my lower back the day afterwards, does it necessarily mean that this exercise is not suitable for me? Though I have no problem with hyperextension exercises. Would you say as a rule of thumb, if any exercises cause any intensity of lower back pain, we should avoid it at all? So, a couple things on there. If you're performing, the deadlift with good technique, and you don't have any pain immediately after, or even after an hour or two after the workout session, the pain that you're experiencing is probably not related to the deadlift, and it could be more so with activities that you're doing afterwards. Now keep in mind this, when you're in the gym working out and you're deadlifting, you're fatiguing a lot of your muscles. So yes, your technique may be fine, everything's good, but you don't have the same capacity to do other intense activities afterwards, and you need to take a break and take it easy afterwards, or else you could put yourself into a position where you're doing an activity because your core musculature is already kind of fatigued from the deadlift. You could put yourself into a position where you're hurting yourself, or you just don't have that same endurance or capacity to do that activity, and that's what could be maybe provoking pain. Hyperextension exercises, don't do hyperextension. If you're doing the deadlift with hyperextension and then underload, you're going to create a problem. Not saying you are, but maybe it's just the wording's a little bit kind of off here. So that would be my suggestion. It'd probably just be something indirectly related. Maybe the deadlift in the session, just you're using a lot of your capacity, fatigued, and activities you're doing afterwards is what could be provoking pain. Would you say as a rule of thumb, if any exercises causes any intensity of low back pain, we should avoid it? Yeah, so if there's an exercise that is actually provoking your pain, yeah, there's your indication that you should probably avoid it. Now, that being said, it may not be the exercise, it could be your technique. You're just not doing the exercise right, and that's what's triggering pain. And if maybe you get a stronger brace, maybe just you're extending too much, flexing too much, bending a little bit too twisted, just correcting that technique, seeing what's going on could perhaps kind of clean that up. But in some cases, there is exercises that may just not be appropriate for people, like someone performing a sit-up with sciatica, or like just pain going down the back and they're flexion intolerant. That's not a good idea. Or performing a hip hinge. Some people, as they hinge back, that could maybe provoke pain in some people that are flexion intolerant. So it really depends on the person and where they're at. That's what I would say. Third question, so moving into more of the McGill books. In which order should we read the McGill books, Remy? A great video. I saw at their website that in Asia they deliver the 4th edition of Ultimate Back Fitness, so we'll be fine. Given I know some terminology related to anatomy and the muscle and skeleton. So what I would say is the order depends on where you're at and who you are. If you're someone with low back pain and has no knowledge of training or has limited knowledge of training, is not a personal trainer, physical therapist, chiropractor, doctor, start with back mechanic. It's designed for the lay person, it's really dumbed down, and it's designed to help get people out of low back pain that just maybe can't find a clinician or trainer to help them out. So back mechanic would be the start for that type of person, but if you're a physio or some medical professional somewhere in that area, you can kind of start elsewhere. But in the order, be back mechanic. If you're a strength athlete, power lifter, anywhere along those lines, then you can read The Gift of Injury. But if you're not like a strength athlete or power lifter, I wouldn't necessarily suggest you have to read it. It's a good read, don't get me wrong, but not mandatory. Ultimate Back Fitness and Performance, and then Low Back Disorders if you wanted to kind of follow in order. And so just moving on along the McGill books again. One more thing, Remy, is back mechanic, a simplified, this is from the same person, a simplified version of low back disorders. Yes, in a sense it is, but keep in mind, back mechanic is designed for the lay person, someone with very limited knowledge or no knowledge at all about back issues and how these injuries develop. Low back disorders is very clinical based and very research based, so unless you're like someone with more of an advanced education, such as a doctor, chiro, physio, a trainer, then it's going to be a tough read, no doubt about it. But the most amount of information, if you would really like to dive deep into back injuries and everything, the whole 9 yards and everything, Low Back Disorders would be the book to read. But I'd say it is very advanced, and it's kind of designed for that more advanced education person like the clinician. So next one. Will Ultimate Back Fitness and Performance help me build my own program, or will I have to go through back mechanic first? So back mechanic will help you build a very basic core endurance and spine stabilization program. Ultimate Back Fitness and Performance is designed more so for like a strength and conditioning coach, personal trainer, or physical therapist. It was trying to understand back injuries, how to develop a program based on performance and injury prevention. So developing the ultimate back that can carry over and translate into performance for, say, an athlete or just a person performing a regular job or activity. So I would say it's more based towards that individual and helping that trainer design a program, say, for a client. Yes, if you're a trainer or any therapist, coach, or anything along those lines, it's a mandatory read, no doubt about it, no questions asked. For the lay person, not so much mandatory, but definitely a good read if you're really into fitness and want to understand a little bit more about back training and how to basically train the back, develop a kind of resilient back without creating injury or anything. Highly recommend it. Last question, more along the lines of the inversion table now. Can you share the percent of tilt you found effective for you? So it's a very, I'd say, odd question, because the percent of tilt is going to be different for every person. So number one, not everyone should be using an inversion table. Number two, the percent of tilt, where people start, is going to be different for everybody. And then the third thing, the percent of tilt is just going to be based on the amount of traction you can tolerate and handle. So it's going to depend. For someone like me that's 6'5", 260 pounds, hanging upside down is something that I find gives me enough traction where I can feel my back kind of opening up. But someone that's a lot lighter, who's maybe half my size, they probably only need a small percentage, but it depends also on what a person can tolerate with regards to hanging upside down, if they're able to go full tilt or maybe half tilt. So it really depends on the person. I would just say for myself it was hanging upside down, but I wouldn't suggest starting like that. Progress as you get comfortable, then go forward. And at the same time, a lot of people are not good candidates for the inversion table. So those are just my thoughts on there. Anyways, that's it for this Q&A number 4. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you guys have any questions for our next Q&A, please leave them below. I'll be happy to answer them. And until next time, guys, all the best and take care. See you later.